Well, what were you going to do with 237 fish? Well, I'm a subsistence fisherman. I was going to take them home, feed my family with them. You going to take them home, feed your family? Why don't you work? Because I don't have a Social Security number. I can't get a job. And I can't get welfare. Oh. So they took it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled just exactly the way Blackstone told us they ought to. You see, everybody's involved in commercial fishing. And the reason that it's commercial and you need a license is because it's sport fishing. Aren't you all sportsmen? See, a sportsman, he goes out and catches a fish and mounts it on the wall. But the law doesn't provide for you to be a sport or a commercial fisherman. It provides that you can be a subsistence fisherman. That's what Indians are. They're all subsistence fishermen. They catch the fish to eat. Now, the normal person would catch a fish, take it to the cannery and sell it, then take the money and go to Safeway and convert the money into food and take it home and feed his family. Now, isn't that the normal way to do that? And that's why you need a license, because that's commercial. But when you're catching the fish and you're going to take them home and feed your family, that's called subsistence fishing or subsistence farming or subsistence living. And you've got a natural, common law, inalienable right to do that. Now, let me show you what happens when you got a Social Security number. I had another student do this one. He had 5 deer in his locker. This is up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Well, somebody ratted on him, and game warden came over and seized the 5 deer, arrested the guy, put him in jail, charged him with having deer out of season, no license, and hauled him up in front of the judge. And the judge says, "How come you got 5 deer in your locker?" And he said, "Because I needed to feed them to my family." And the judge says, "No, you didn't. You could go down and get a job, or you could go down and get welfare." And he took the 5 deer and he gave them to some needy family. Who's needy? Well, somebody that's on welfare. That's a needy family. This man has no right to reduce a wild animal to his possession and eat it when he's got a Social Security number. And because the state has the fiduciary responsibility of feeding, clothing, and housing you. Same thing is true with land. If you didn't have a Social Security number or a birth certificate, you could go out and claim land under the law of Moses today in the public land. Can't go out and claim my land, but out in the public land. The reason that you can't, and the reason that the land, not the land patent, but the Homestead Act was repealed in 1964 is because by 1964 everybody had been brought into the system. Everybody has a right to food stamps, welfare, public education, public housing. There's no need for you to go out and take a piece of land for subsistence living. And so they simply closed the door. But that doesn't mean that you don't have the right to do that if the conditions were correct. Well, let me give you a quick illustration from my land school. Let's suppose you wanted to claim a piece of land. Have you got a Social Security number, man? You can't claim public land. Anybody in here with no Social Security number? Here's a fella. Do you have a birth certificate? No birth certificate. Okay, so you can't work, can you? So let's just take an easy one. Let's go to Alaska, and let's go into the Department of Labor, and let's ask for a job. Can you get a job without a Social Security number? If you think you can, go test it. Just walk into job service, tell them I'm looking for a job, fill out the application where it says Social Security number, right, and then see what they say. We tested it. And they're very kind. They tell you, look, if you don't have a Social Security number, just go down and get one. And when you come back with your Social Security number, we'll give you a job. You do the same thing with welfare. You go down to welfare and you tell them, geez, I'm hungry. I don't have a job. They tell me down at job service I can't get employment. Will you give me food stamps? And they'll give you a form to fill out. Fill out the form. And when you don't put a Social Security number in, they'll be very kind to you. They'll say, ma'am, if you'll just go down and get a Social Security number, come back, fill in the Social Security number, we'll give you food stamps. Now, if you were a common law free man and you said, well, gee, I can't do that. It's against the law of Moses. I'm going to practice the common law. Now let's go down and claim an island. So now we go into the panhandle of Alaska, and let's take a piece of real estate that's reasonable, because the common law provides that you can have all the land that you can use, occupy, and possess. Use means you've got to put it to use. Occupy means you've got to live on it. And possess means you have to be able to defend it. So let's cut down some trees, build us a cabin, and then take the clearing and let's plant some seeds and get our garden growing and wait for Ranger Rick. One of these days, Ranger Rick will come along and he will charge you with criminal trespass on the Tongass National Forest. Well, this is the stuff of which constitutional confrontations are made. Now they're going to take you to Anchorage and you'll go in before the federal district judge. And he's going to say, why are you trespassing on the Tongass National Forest? And then you come back and you say, I'm not trespassing, I claimed it. I've claimed all the land I can use, occupy, and possess, and nothing more. I have about 600 acres. I've put a fence around the whole 600 acres. It's in the form of signs posted at the water's edge. I claimed the whole island. And I'm using that island for my subsistence. I'm a subsistence farmer. See how simple that is? Now, if you don't have the Social Security number and you've claimed the land under the Land Claim Act or the Landmark Statute of the Law of Moses, Now you're protected by the First Amendment's free exercise clause as construed by Seeger versus U.S. at 163, no, it's 384 U.S. 163, in which now you're a subsistence farmer who has a need for the land because you can't get a job. And you've always had a right to life, haven't you? I mean, do I have to cease to exist? No. Life, liberty, and property. So I've got a right to my freedom, and I've got a right to the property. I don't have a right to 10 million acres. I don't have a right to the whole state of Alaska. But I've got a right to a piece of ground that I can use, occupy, and possess.